So as in any facilitated discussion, we like to provide some expectations and guiding principles. And we're using the principles here that we borrowed from the NSF, which includes also the Seas Islands Alliance. And to know that when we come to this space, there are going to be times where it will challenge us, times where we will celebrate, and times when we will question. But in this space, every voice matters. And we want you to know that your voice is really important. We recognize that some people talk more than others, but we would like to hear from all of you as you process through some of the questions that we will be posing to you today, as well as the messages that you will hear from the keynote presentations, excuse me, and the panel discussants. We all have something to learn and we all have something to contribute. And so we want to be able to listen from a place of understanding one another. And it's okay to question, and it's okay to ask for clarification, and we hope that you will do that. We are here with the intent to go forward. And so know that that is our intent here. And while we do that, we can also understand that we can agree to disagree and do that respectfully. Anything that we do it because we'll get a lot out of it if we also participate in it. And we hope that that will continue through the time we have with you. We're interested in hearing your experience, not so much somebody else's experience or somebody else's friend's experience. So please speak from a position of I, instead of they. And what I mean by that is that it's a personal experience. The yes and statements, we love those. It's affirmative, it's positive, and it gets us moving. We want to also be able to think outside the box and be creative in our thinking, and to be open to doing and thinking in different and creative ways. We know that there are possibilities and many, many different solutions to some of the issues that we will be proposing. Be open to have that opportunity to talk to one another. We want you to be present, and when Flo goes over the meeting norms, because we are in a virtual space, that has, and coming out of 20 months of doing that, that has had challenges for all of us. We understand that people are Zoomed out and WebExed out, but we believe that we can find some energy in the spaces that we're going to be in the next couple of days. And most importantly, let's have fun and be creative. I always tell my staff that when we do this type of work, we have to be able to laugh, and we have to be able to laugh at ourselves, because at the end of the day, we're spending a lot of good hours with one another. So let's enjoy doing that and enjoy being with one another. Flo?
Thanks, Angela. Just to add, we wanted to give some meeting norms and logistics to assist with our time together. So as far as being on a virtual platform, mute just to keep background noise down, but unmute to participate. And facilitators will try to pay attention to that. Also, feel free to use the reaction buttons to raise your hand and so forth, or react to each other. Again, put your name on the screen as you would like to be called today, if you would like your pronouns, which is very helpful. Utilize the chat as much as possible. Again, we'll try to pay attention to that. Participate in the virtual breakout groups as the different facilitators. Of course, you'll have your facilitators within, but Angela and I may pop in and just keep the conversation going. Of course, we will answer any burning questions as needed, but you will have very good facilitators in your group. And then you will have an opportunity to offer feedback at the end of the day, which we highly value. So please submit that as much as possible. And one more thing I'll say on here, there's a lot of debate about folks being present on their screens. I think as much as possible, try to be present. There's a lot of different reasons why people may not show or present themselves on the screen. But we just encourage that you do, and if you need to take a break or there's something else going on for you, then do what you need to do.
Thanks, Flo. And so in order for us to get working today, we wanted to provide the definitions. There are many definitions out there, and probably there are different definitions that you are familiar with or fuller definitions. But these were borrowed from the Sea Grant's 10-year DIJ visioning document. So we appreciate it because this is information right in your own discipline. And so these are what we will be working with and referring back to: diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And I think when we first started doing this work, over the decades, we knew this work as multiculturalism, and now it has been more fully defined in very specific ways in talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And I'm particularly happy that when we talk about diversity, that it is broad and it is not just relegated to race, which was often the case, that when we talked about diversity, we were only talking about racial diversity, but it's much fuller than that. And we're talking about different identities, knowledge sets, experiences, and perspectives. And so even the diversity of ideas is important, not just on those protected classes of race, gender, sexual orientation, national origin, and so on and so forth. So it's the full breadth of what we're talking about. And in order to do that work, we have to know that we're having equity, that everybody has the accessibility to access the resources so that it is fair, and that they are also benefiting from what is out there. But we need to go even further. And so when we do this work, we also have to have an inclusion and injustice, and Flo will walk us through those two pieces as well.
When we're just to add to what Angela mentioned, is that all four of these elements are important to true equity and inclusion in organizations. So it's been interesting to watch the evolution, as Angela mentioned. So when talking about inclusion, you are looking at your environment, you are looking at your culture, policies, and procedures, as far as how open and welcoming it is, as far as recognizing and affirming the value and dignity of all people. Justice is another reminder, along with equity and inclusion, that there are historical and contemporary systems of oppression that have to be dismantled. And the systemic oppression is so embedded in our cultures and our organizations that they've been normalized. So by creating a critical consciousness and also putting forth serious effort to dismantle the systemic oppression, justice is necessary in order that all folks feel like they can achieve the different outcomes in our diverse society.
I'd just like to build on that with just two quick thoughts, to hopefully to inspire people to share, to be creative. As you're participating, please note that we want you to think outside the box, to engage in this conversation in the way that Flo and Angela have been framing, to feel comfortable within these breakout spaces and these facilitated large group discussions to share your ideas and examples.